Hello, dear Ascension Pioneers. My name is Desrosier-Hickey, and this is my journey. When I was born, I was 22 weeks into gestation. I was 3 months premature. Doctors gave me a 2% chance of survival, and my mother 8, and we both survived. My mother told me a story when I was young that she had seen and felt her brother's presence when she was going into surgery, because she had a C-section for me, because her body was going into toxicity, or going into a state where we had to get me out. And I remember this very much because once I realized that my name had a purpose or a significance to it that came from the divine, it helped me to understand my role in this world. And so what the spirit of my uncle, who had passed away before I was born, told my mother was that if I was to survive, I had to be named Pascal. And in the Catholic Church, because Victorin, who is my uncle, was a priest when he was killed in a car accident at a young age. He was only 24. He had very strong beliefs in Catholicism. And Pascal in the Catholic Church means rebirth. It means the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And for many, 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 many years, I never really kind of gave myself the credit, but I had a feeling that I was here for a reason. So for a lot of times in my life, I felt different. I was ridiculed for being smaller, for not being as physically fast or at the same level as children my age. Because I was premature, I developed a little slower, but I didn't have any of the side effects that people expect to have from being premature. My intelligence wasn't affected. I have no ADD or ADHD of any kind. I talk too much, and I'm in my head too much, but that is more of a battle between my mind and my heart, learning how to balance the yin and yang energies. And in truth, that feeling different started my transition, really started to wake me up out of being like everyone else. Give you an example. I found the transition from kindergarten to elementary school very difficult, because in the kindergarten it was small, and people reinforced the teachings of forgiveness and reinforced the teachings that if you do something wrong, you own up to it and apologize. But of course, when you get into a bigger system, like a school, that doesn't always happen. And of course, if you're different, you can become a target. And that's what happened to me. Now, because I was a target, I was also more outspoken, because I realized that they weren't going to get me, so why try hiding that I was different? At least, you know, if I'm going to get called weird for trying to be nice to everybody, I could at least speak my truth. And in when I was 7 years old, I started to talk about things that, well, my teachers didn't really like. I was actually put in detention for a week to protect me from the backlash of me having told people that I believed the sun would eventually, blow up and cause things to change drastically. But I didn't say it in those terms. I was like, the sun is a star. The stars have lifetimes. Eventually our star will explode. Just like every other star in the galaxy eventually changes. But I then went on to say, but don't worry, I think humanity is going to mess up our planet so bad between now and then that our real danger is destroying ourselves. Now, truth, even when it's an opinion, sometimes doesn't get respected very well in the school system. And I kind of understand why people reacted the way they did, in terms of they thought that I was trying to make people scared. And that wasn't my intention. I was trying to wake people up. But being 7 years old and not having a role model as to how to do that, I made a few burns in my way. So that's kind of an extreme example of the worst thing that stuck in my mind in terms of speaking my truth and totally not getting the reaction that I had hoped. But later in my life, when I started to focus on recycling, on actually trying to act in such a way that is harmonious to nature, I studied Catholicism for the first 10 years of my life, and I felt I needed to leave the church because it suppressed too much of the feminine, and it suppressed too much of the truth of its history. And so, because I'm a truth seeker, I couldn't resolve the two. I felt I was a priestess in my own right. I felt that I had things to share with the world, and the church didn't give me a place to do that. In fact, it limited me quite a lot. And I turned to paganism and Wicca, earth-based spirituality, the goddess. And I followed the goddess for a long time, and I still do. And I try to stay away from kind of identifying too much with one religion or another, because I believe that all these religions are just ways of teaching the same thing, that we are divine and we are love, and that we need to bring that love onto earth. Yeah, where was I going with this? So all that to say that even at a young age I was really awake, and then of course I started to recoil because of the ridicule and the pressures and the bullying and a lot of things like that. So it didn't take very long, but eventually I kind of stopped talking about that stuff outwardly unless people approached me. And for the good chunk of my high school time, I was a pagan, Wiccan, and I was out in the sense that if people wanted to honestly get to know more information, then I would sincerely, share that. But if they were just pulling my leg or trying to get a rise out of me, I'd ignore them, as we all should. Any case, then eventually as I was still practicing pagan when I went to Thailand while I was at university, that really started my awakening to spiritual versus religious. I always kind of felt that in paganism I was finding my source, finding my spirit. Even between the ages of 14 and 16, I had like poems that were like describing how spirit is within us and we just need to accept that it's within us and bring it out, and how people wear masks and you just got to drop your mask and be your authentic self. All these awarenesses were there, but they weren't really coalescing into a life purpose. It wasn't until I was in Thailand that my experiences with Reiki got called up again, because I was initiated in Reiki when I was only 13. And I did that not long after my father's heart attack. And so for me, it forced me to deal with things I wasn't ready to deal with. And so I stopped. I stopped the initiation process, and then I only completed it a year later. But it's, in truth, I feel that that wound, that heart wound from insecurity, from having someone so close to me, his life threatened for so long at a young age, that really didn't start to heal until this September. And it came in stages. It started in April when I lost my job, got laid off due to health reasons and a combination of things. Since November, my health had been quite bad in terms of energy, pain management, and things. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is a condition that my father has. And as some of you may realize that these are also terms that are catch-alls for when they don't know what's wrong with you. And in truth, I think these are just trials. The IBS and the fibro are simply manifestations of the purging and the clearing of the karma, of the physicality, and really releasing things that are no longer for my highest good. And I think because I lived in fear for so many years after my father's heart attack, that this is the manifestation that I'm supposed to learn to heal in myself and thus help others heal as well. All of this culminated to really push me to accept that Reiki is part of my path, that it is energy work and being an energy healer is what I want to do. Because for a long time, I was pursuing things in the conventional streams. And I looked at getting into traditional medicine. I even went as far as studying for my MCAT. Did not complete it. I was so depressed for the 9 months that I tried to do it that it was just like pulling teeth, because I was coming off of having my tonsils taken out that September. And I was so sick because I had been on antibiotics 32 weeks out of that year because of how bad my stress levels were because of my dad's bypass surgery that year. And it just went, so it was like that was the beginning of the IBS and everything else kind of tumbling down. And then 3 years ago, I had a bike accident, which gave the vulnerability in my lower back that allowed the fibromyalgia to manifest. And that was just last November that I finally caved, asked the question I was not willing to ask my doctors until then, and got a label. And I'm saying label because I think that it can help in some certain circumstances. It can help you just kind of feel like you're not going crazy. Because sometimes when you feel pain, you don't know why. It can drive you. And those of you who have felt intense pain know what I'm talking about. But it's not the end-all and be-all of who I am. And I will not allow it to be the end-all and be-all of who I am. So now I work on embracing what is instead of trying to control it. And that is hard. It is hard because I've been taught from day one that the only way to keep yourself safe is to control things, because my mother was very controlling as well. That's how she coped with the feeling that she wasn't safe in the universe. But she went through her own awakening as I was going through mine. And so we kind of taught each other to let go. And it's now that since April, I've redone my second level Reiki with the intention of learning how to do it for others. I've redone my first degree Reiki with the intention of clearing the wounds that were blocking my channels. And that holding has begun. It's a process. I have become aware as I've been controlling, as I've been releasing my pain better, as I've been learning mindfulness meditation, mindful yoga from Jon Kabat Zin's Full Living Catastrophe. Excellent book if you ever have any issues with pain that are chronic and long-term that you want to help look at a different way. It's very freeing, because then you don't feel like you're being controlled by your experience. You start to be able to respond rather than react. And it's like Palona says, responsibility is the beginning of our ability to respond to what's there. And it's our responsibility to claim that power. And so I feel like I've gone through many deaths and many rebirths, and so I identify strongly with the energy of Phoenix. In truth, I feel that that's part of my gift to this world, is to help people, to teach them how to rebirth, how to release and let those things that need to die, die, and embrace the pain and then walk through it and take the lessons, but drop the pain, drop the attachment to the ego, attachment to the blame, because everything, it's like you've said, everything that happens in your life is happening for you, because we've chosen this and we've mapped it out for ourselves. I may not have been, aware that my father was going to go through all that, but on some soul level, I chose my parents and all of the genetic risks and manifestations that go with it. And so I feel that now I'm claiming my responsibility of my own genetic heritage and saying, okay, that exists for a reason, that's there for a reason. These things are happening when I feel anxious and stressed, but when I'm relaxed and well, these don't happen. And so it's almost as if it's a fail-safe to keep me working towards the highest vibration that I can. And it's just since April that I've also learned that dairy and meat and wheat, those three together, contribute to lowering my vibration. And I figured this out because I was eating pretty much smoothie for breakfast or gluten-free stuff or bananas. Like, I was pretty much keeping away from heavy meals other than in the evenings. And then I would make something like normal. Well, I consider normal because so recently I was following traditional Western diet. Even with IBS, I was still favoring chicken, wheat pasta, and cream-based sauces, which, of course, now I eat one of those meals and, oh, it's just horrible. Like, A, my stomach hurts. B, my muscles tighten up. Like, literally tighten up. And all of these things I would not have been aware of had I not started to consciously face the pain and try to deal with it. It's like when you're in so much pain, you're so desperate for comfort that you don't care what's going inside of you. You just want to feel better. And when you don't realize that the foods are contributing to your condition, then you're making yourself ill and you don't even know it. So for anyone who's struggling with symptoms, I encourage you strongly to keep aware of how you feel after your meals. If you feel iller after your meal, look at what you eat. Figure out if it's a pattern. If it happens several times, cut that food out for a week, see what happens. But follow your body. Like, really listen to your body. And that's really where I've started to come back to myself again. And I am in transition in terms of learning to cope without medication at all. It was a decision I made back in January to cut out Robax, ibuprofen, Advil, pretty much any over-the-counter medication to control pain because they were not working. I was using them, but they weren't working. And the only one left for me is marijuana. But I'm learning to stop that as well. And it's interesting because I don't feel challenged by it. I feel like it's a confirmation that I'm on the right path. That as I feel I need it less, I need it less. And then less and less. And it's just kind of, I'm deprogramming from the idea that it needs to be part of my life. For a long time, I thought it was necessary to control my symptoms. I realize now that it was necessary as long as my stress wasn't under control, but if I can get my stress under control, I really don't require anything other than taking care of myself properly. And I guess that's the truth in everything, right? If you really take care of yourself, then you can heal yourself without medications. That being said, I do have a condition that I can't seem to avoid taking medications for at this time, which is low thyroid. I am on Synthroid, which is a synthetic replica of the hormone. I don't know if I should cut it, but if ever my thyroid levels do bounce back after all of these transitions and changes, and I mean, I feel like I went through so much the last 10 years that alone could be dropping my thyroid, and then once I get better, it might just go away too. If you believe enough, if you work at it enough, you can cure anything. It's all about your genes, right? And the amazing thing about relaxation protocol is that if you do 20 minutes of relaxation, and a specific protocol has been shown to work, like medically backed up and such with research, is like 2 to 3 minutes of progressive muscle relaxation, about 10 minutes of breath awareness, monitoring your breath. That takes you out of your stress mode. And then 10 minutes of visualizing yourself free of whatever condition you perceive as limiting you. Do that every day, and you are empowering yourself to turn on or off up to 500 genes that are stress related. There are 500 genes in your body that get turned on or off based on whether you were relaxed or stressed. Like, that is huge, man. That is so powerful. It means that we can literally remake our DNA by changing our behavior and engaging in meditations and mindful awareness. And really, it's the mindful awareness that's critical, because that's what gives us the tool to recognize what we can change and what we can't. And, well, this is kind of long already, so I want to get to my point for offering guidance for all of you. I feel drawn to the Hawaiian Oracle, and it is something that I enjoy reading from because of the so much light, so much beauty in these cards. They represent each of the animals that are sacred in Hawaii, and it's based on the shamanic huna. And so for those who are interested, keep watching. I will draw a card for Ascension Pioneers, for those of us that feel that are on this path, and to see what the highest lesson that we need to hear or be open to, what will help us along our path most right now. And so I want to thank everybody for taking time to listen to my story. I apologize if it's long-winded and a little bit in my head. I'm still working on that, working to drop into the heart. And I love you all. So I'll go to the reading now. And if you guys want to see, this is the beautiful. As you can see, if those of you can read, it is in French, so I will be reading it first, and then I'll just give my intuitive impressions and then kind of translate it in English. So for my French colleagues, my apologies, I'm not going to say it out loud in French because I want to address as many people as possible. But bonjour pour tous ceux qui peuvent parler en français. Je suis acadienne de Nouveau-Brunswick, dans la capitale, qui est un petit peu rare. Alors, bonjour, puis bienvenue. And I invite any other French speakers who haven't spoken their second language or first language, whichever it might be for them, to kind of speak up and share, because I love hearing everybody's stories. And so I will be quiet now. Beautiful. We have joy, the beautiful dolphin that embodies divine love. We are stepping into our power, and it is a reminder that the dolphin was brought here first to help us learn to take our lessons in joy. In Hawaiian tradition, it's said that the dolphin was inserted into our history, literally, as a way to help humanity learn to come back to the light and to bring things, all things in joy, love, and light. And I will go for further information through the book, as I feel there's a little bit more to be said. And I don't know these all by heart, but I am learning to become more intuitive in that sense as well and follow the inner guidance. And so in French, what they call divine spirit is esprit ludique. And that's the challenge, is to ground that energy. And the way to do that is through grace. And the gift, if you can achieve that, is unconditional love. And so they say that the dolphin's nose faces the wind. And as you see the dolphin, it jumping out of the water, I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to see how beautiful this card is. I mean, what beautiful cards. And the spiral of purple light represents the fire of transmutation, taking sorrows and transmuting them to light. And so, like I was saying earlier, I feel like a lot of us have gone through a lot of pain, but it has a purpose. You know, everything that we've experienced has a purpose. Yes, it's been hard, but you know what? We wouldn't be nearly as advanced as we are now if we hadn't gone through that. Like, I'm 27 years old. I feel like I'm going on 87, except my heart's going on back to 18. You know, like, it's hard to explain, but that's how it feels. Aloha is the name most known in the Hawaiian language, and it really embodies what the dolphin is about. It literally translates to the free flow of energy between two hearts that are recognizing the divine love within one another. And so this card indicates that we are now free and ready to love. We love being part of a group, and we love to play together. And I'm feeling this is about us as a community. And as we navigate together, we bring about the elegance and the recognition that the ocean is infinite in its harmony. And so we can together guide each other to our harmony, to our balance, as long as we keep our nose pointing towards the divine love. Anyway, so I hope this wasn't too long, and I will leave you all in peace. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for all of your support and guidance, Palona. You are a gift to this world, for you are truly helping wake us up and get us moving. And so, blessings for you and for all that you do. Thank you.